What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show live here on DSM-Media's YouTube channel. Guys, if you are new to the channel, make sure to help out and support by smashing that subscribe button. It is the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with your host every show. I am one half of them this morning, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. Another great double victory Monday here, man, as the Sixers take care of business, winning both ends of their back-to-back, going 2-0 over the weekend, 2-1 on the young season under Nick Nurse, and the Eagles take care of business and escape Sam Howell and the Washington Commanders down there in DC yet again by a score of 38-31. We're going to be breaking down all of the weekend action and what to look forward to. Obviously, we are now officially into Dallas week, so that's always exciting. The Dallas Cowboys come to the link to take on the 7-1 Eagles. We'll be talking about that as the week goes on. But my man, happy Monday, and how are you feeling?
Happy Monday, man. I'm feeling good, given the weekend. Nice Halloween celebration over the weekend. Shout out to my boy Jake through costume party on Saturday. So I was a little hungover yesterday.
What you go as?
Feeling better today. I went as Frankenstein, and then I had my wife as bride of Frankenstein.
That's
so
nice.
it was pretty cool. It was fun and had a great time. And then obviously yesterday, great Sunday. We got a double dub with Philly teams yesterday. Yeah, and some other stuff trickled down, right? Like the Chiefs losing, the 49ers losing.
Yes,
so a lot of things kind of went our way yesterday.
Yeah. Won some coin. Like won a little bit of coin yesterday. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir. The Bengals. Hey, had to lay that Bengals over 49ers, man.
Yes, sir.
I laid the Jamar Chase tutty with it too, so that gave me a little bit extra juice. But yeah, that one felt good. You know, the Bengals are like my AFC team or something. I don't even know what you would call that. Yeah, exactly. But it was fun though, man. Good weekend. And Terry, if you're watching, I'm sorry the 49ers had to lose 3 straight for you, but hey, you got to focus on yourself.
Sorry, Terry, but
they got to focus on themselves. They got to stop focusing on the Cowboys and the Eagles and the other teams in the NFC. Worry about yourselves and get right. But happy Monday, man. Victory Monday. It feels good to be here with you.
Double dub, man. We gotta coin that term. I like that.
Double dub. Yeah, I like that, man.
Brett, what's going on, man? Good morning. And let's start there. Eagles never make it easy. Obviously, they escape with a win. Like I said, 38-31. Obviously, when we broke that game down on Friday morning, we were hoping for a different outcome, a different style of football, the second go around with the Commanders. And we didn't necessarily get that, man. Obviously, the first game was 34-31 in overtime. This one's 38-31. Sam Howell at times throughout this game, for most of this game, looked like Joe Montana. He was 39 of 52, threw for about 400 yards, had 4 passing touchdowns. He was unreal, man, to be honest with you. And I don't know how much of that, obviously to give credit to Eric Bieniemy and the play calling and the game plan, kind of very similar to week 1 against the New England Patriots, in my opinion, where, if you're just going to continue to sit here and rush 4, I'm going to get the ball out as quickly as possible. And I don't care if you have Hassan Reddick or Jalen Carter or Fletcher Cox or Josh Sweat or whoever you have. Rushing 4 is not going to get the job done because no one's going to get home against me today. I don't think that Sean Desai did an overall great job of mixing in and disguising different pressures and bringing 5 or 6. I even think as bad as they were, Mark Schlereth and the broadcasting booth, they actually brought up the fact that the Giants had success against Sam Howell, and there's a reason he's the most sacked quarterback in the league, because they straight rushed 5 or 6 75% of the time, I believe, last weekend. The Eagles did none of that, man, and that did frustrate me a bit. Obviously, Sean Desai in this defense has been stellar for what now, 6 out of the first 8 weeks. Obviously, just both games against the Washington Commanders, whatever it is, man. Whether it's their Super Bowl, whether they get up for it, whether it's a bad matchup for the Eagles, the defense has not been able to slow him down, even with the addition of Kevin Byard. However, the offense was there to pick them up when they needed most. They got down in an early hole, just like in week 4, but nonetheless, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown were able to do what was needed down the stretch of this game and get the job done. This was by far, to me, Jalen Hurts' best game of the season. his cleanest game of the season. Obviously, I know he had the fumble on the goal line with the tush push. Don't know what happened there. The snap, if someone punched it out, no idea.
By the way, the camera angles in that game yesterday were
horrible. You couldn't see. All they showed was between his legs and the ground. I had no idea
if that was on Kelsey, if that was on Hurts. Like, you really couldn't see much of it. Even the what was it? The Dotson catch that was reversed in real time without a challenge.
Yes.
And then, you couldn't even
on
get
the ground.
View of the ball.
It was really bad. I agree with you. But Jalen Hurts, 29 of 38, threw for about 320, man. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. I thought the way that he was able to climb the pocket, even with a bum knee, and extend plays was really, really good to see yesterday. And then obviously AJ Brown, shout out to the greatest receiver in Eagles history. And I'm starting to believe that, man. And we've had some greats, right? We've had a Terrell Owens come through for a cup of coffee, right? We've had our Howard Carmichaels. Chris Carter's been here before. We've had great receivers walk through these buildings before, but this dude is on another level right now. He makes NFL history for now 6 straight games of 125 or more receiving yards. He goes for 130 yesterday on 8 receptions and 2 touchdowns again against this Commanders secondary. Devontae Smith finds the end zone wide open. He had about 100 yards yesterday. Jalen Hurts and this receiving core had its best day yesterday, and they were able to do enough against this Commanders defense, man. And that's what I think the story of this game should really be.
Yeah, I think all the kudos goes to the offense. Obviously, the defense came up with a big play in the end. Maybe that was Sam Howell unraveling. That pass was a little erratic, but nonetheless, shout out to the offense. They carried the load yesterday. You mentioned Jalen Hurts, just looks unfazed at all times. Doesn't matter where he's at in the game. You look at us, we were down 14-3 in the second quarter. You have that fumble in the defense. They come up with a stop, thankfully. Ultimately, the Eagles get a chance to come back out, get that offense back on the field, and get a score before half to get us closer, right? And I think that was kind of where that was where the Commanders could have taken full control of the game, and we kind of shifted it back. We're able to get some points on the board and keep it close going into the half. And then after halftime, man, the offense took off. Now, I did see Brett's comment there, the 4 runs in the first half, the Gainwell stuff. That stuff is beyond frustrating. Like, you come out of the game with the W, and it's like you don't want to be negative. You don't want to revert back and talk about why you were down 14-3 in the first place, right? And so, to that point, why are you not running the football? You look across the field, man, the Commanders didn't run the football either. They were averaging 5.3 yards per carry. They were leading most of the game, yet they only ran it 16 times total yesterday. So it just wasn't one of those games where you were running the football. And to be fair, these guys were getting whatever they wanted through the air. So that's the other side of the argument. I mean, you come out of the game, each quarterback throws over 300 passing yards. They're doing pretty good. They're doing their job. So while it was frustrating at times, I think the Eagles once again have shown why they're the best team in the NFL, because they are able to still come out of that game with a W. You look around the league yesterday, a lot of teams that you didn't expect to leave their game with a loss. Chiefs in Denver, right? They leave that game with a loss. They scored 9 points in that game. So while everybody's panicking about the Eagles' pass defense, blah blah blah, maybe it's just a matchup thing, man. We just saw the Eagles defense hold the Dolphins to 10 points, the best offense in football. So,
and that's what's so confusing about this league.
It is confusing.
We were talking about it pre-show. It's confusing, but I guess that's what makes this league, so special. Is any given Sunday is as true a statement as there can be in sports. But it's definitely mind-boggling to me. I think the thing that stood out to me with the personnel usage and the lack of the run early on in the game, is to Brett's comment earlier, was, I don't know if you noticed the stat, but when the Eagles found themselves down 14-3 and the offense was stagnant, they were either choosing not to push the ball down the field, or there was nothing open down the field early on in this game, because Jalen Hurts at one point was 7 for 11, I believe, but with 35 passing yards.
Yeah. A lot of screens, a lot of stuff.
A lot. Again, I don't know how many times I have to ask for it. throw out the wide receiver screen, crumble it up, burn it, throw it out. I don't know what you have to do. Stop running it. Stop running the Devontae Smith or when he's on the field, a Quez Watkins, just quick wide receiver screen with 3 secondary players out there and 1 lead blocker in A.J. Brown. Throw it the hell out. It doesn't work, man.
Because that's what they're going to tell you. That's what Brian Johnson will tell you. That's what Nick Sirianni will tell you. Those screens outside, those are an extension of the run game. And that's just not what I'm trying to hear because you can just run the football. They're a good running football team. Their offensive line runs. They block well for the run. I know they've struggled a little bit since Cam Jurgens went out, but still, you can run the football behind us.
If you want to include the screen game as an extension of the rushing attack, why don't you slip in a slip screen to DeAndre Swift?
Running back. Like man, like, I feel you. My God.
Where is that, man? Not the wide receiver screen, the quick out to Smitty or anything. It's it's really frustrating.
You know what I wish the Eagles would do? Just totally off the wall point here, but I wish the Eagles would take a page out of Andy Reid's book and use DeAndre Swift the way they used Brian Westbrook. Why are we not? We hear Nick Sirianni talk about DeAndre Swift's hands as if he's got hands of a wide receiver. Why do they not use him like they use Brian Westbrook out in the slot? Now they did get him on a linebacker yesterday out wide, and Hurts missed
Except if you noticed after that, they used Kenneth Gainwell in passing downs and got him the ball in passing downs. Now, granted, he picked up a big first down on the one.
He did.
That's great, man. But I tweeted it out. I'm done. I'm sick and tired of it. And it really does, man. It makes the success and the wins slightly less enjoyable when I continue week in and week out to see the same bullshit put out on the field for a period of time. 14 does not need to play that much, man. I'm so tired of it. And what happened in the pit? Dude, Miles Sanders was here for a while. Miles Sanders at times had a fumbling issue. When Miles Sanders put the ball on the ground, did Miles Sanders see the field after that? He did not. But Kenneth Gainwell puts the ball on the ground, and he's out there to start the next possession and gets the ball.
And then you hear Sirianni after the game compare him to Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Do we take A.J. Brown out after he had the three straight games with a fumble last season? Do we take Jalen Hurts out after he throws an interception? These guys are not on the same plane. Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate. A.J. Brown is approaching 1,000 yards in 8 games. These are not the same caliber players. So Kenneth Gainwell is not in that group. And so when you're already down on Gainwell and you see him coming in the game and you're already frustrated that he's even in the game in the first place, and then he fumbles at the goal line, that's what makes the game disgusting, right? And then at that point, that's when you're trying to come back and stay in the game. Ultimately, they still are able to come back, win the game, but it's not even the amount of snaps that Gainwell gets, I feel. It's not he got 70-30 split, right? He was on the field 30%, Swift was on the field 70%, but it's when you're putting him in the game, at the end of the half. It doesn't feel
like that, man. I'm on
in the goal, in the red zone.
I'm looking here, DeAndre Swift, 16 carries to Kenneth Gainwell, 2. It don't feel like that.
It doesn't feel like it, though. No, it doesn't. Because you look and you'll see consecutive drives of Kenneth Gainwell, Kenneth Gainwell. They're not even switching them in and out during the drives. So it does bother me, and it makes me think, if you guys feel you need to balance the running group and, the running back by committee thing, you need to go get a different running back. It can't be Kenneth Gainwell.
There's one that is a consistent inactive on this ball club. And
Rashad
again, I'll never understand it, man. But to Marshawn Lynch's point, 2 plays that the defense made sealed the game.
Yeah,
and he's right here. Shout out to, I forget who tweeted it out. It might Kevin Nagandi, I think, tweeted it out, and it was a stat given to him by our friend Hembo. But it basically read that the Phillies struggled down the road because they didn't have a closer. Well, the Eagles have a closer. Hassan Reddick has 11.5 sacks in the fourth quarter over his year and a half tenure so far as a Philadelphia Eagle. That is unbelievable.
Insane.
The way that this dude shows up in the biggest moments, and Reed Blankenship makes that pick yesterday, which was gigantic because you tweeted out, and I was going to text you back and forth, excuse me, about the fact that Reed was getting torched yesterday. Reed was getting beat up by Logan Thomas, man, like just trailing on routes behind his. Oh my, it was a mess. But then late in the game when they need it most, Reed Blankenship comes up with another big play.
Always in the right place at the right time.
This defense, I think that's something we have to tip our cap to as well. Like, even in the 2 games that they've really, really struggled this year, coincidentally, both against the Washington Commanders, they have come up with the big plays when they needed them. I don't know if you remember, if you go back to week 4, they didn't touch Sam Howell in the first 3 quarters, basically. And he was the most sacked quarterback through 3 weeks. And what the hell is going on? And blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden they get to him like 3 or 4 times in the fourth quarter, right? Yesterday, they're not getting to him too much. They didn't get to him at all really yesterday, but Hassan Reddick
that one sack
gets to him to seal the deal, right? Hassan Reddick, to Brett's point, gets in his face and forces an intentional grounding call, right? So in the biggest moments, this defensive line and this defense showed up, and that was very, very key as well, even with the offense carrying for most of the time.
And I think, I saw what Shannon Sharp was saying about the Eagles defense and how the Cowboys should be salivating at that defense, blah, blah, blah. I get it, right? It's not the greatest look when you let Sam Howell go out there and throw for close to 400 yards. What I'm saying though, Sam Howell, right, in that Washington offense, you have to be very, very, very fucking patient to play that way. Like, it's infuriating for me to have to watch us play defense against it, because you saw what they do. It's check down, it's underneath, it's very quick release, get the ball out quick, like you said. Eric Bieniemy, great play caller, play designer, all of the above. And I just don't think that Dallas is patient. Not every team is patient enough to play like that. Not every team is willing to put their pride and dignity aside and just say, we're going to take everything underneath and get the ball out in 2 seconds, no matter what, right? We're going to live
said this about our defense, about the Dallas?
This is Shannon Sharp. This is Shannon Sharp.
I mean, Unc knows more about football in his right toe than I'll ever know in my life. But what are we talking about? Because they struggled 2 times against the same team?
Right. Is that not a matchup?
If that was the case, why didn't the number 1 offense in the National Football League salivate and tear up this Eagles defense?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I know it sounds silly to kind of underplay what Sam Howell and the Commanders have done to our defense, scoring 31 points each time out. But again, like you said, it's matchup based, the way to stay patient, etc. Like, why didn't Miami do anything against this defense? Why didn't the Vikings do anything through the first 3 quarters until they got down by 3 or 4 possessions against this defense with Justin Jefferson? Why?
But we see Kirk Cousins torch the 49ers without.
Right. Like, so my point is, Shannon Sharp, Super Bowl champion, Hall of Fame Shannon Sharp, should know better than anyone that matchups matter in this league. And if you just go down the evidence, one team has had success and all of the others have not. So to sit here after Washington does what they did again to say that the Cowboys are going to be salivating to play this defense is kind of
like, were they salivating to play? Were they salivating to play the 49ers when they lost 42 to 20 or 42 to 10, whatever that score was? Like, were they salivating then? Like that? Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just like baseless. You know what I mean? And to Marshawn Lynch's point, I don't know. Not the same team. It isn't the same team as last year. But do you think that this team can be better than last year's team? Do you think this team is better than last year's team? I think the offense has potential to be better. Once they cut the turnovers, I think they will be better than last year's team, just
1000%.
off of chemistry. DeAndre Swift, I think, is a better running back than Miles Sanders. Like, there's a lot of different factors there. The defense is a work in progress, right? We're still figuring out some kinks there, but you added Kevin Byard, an all-pro safety. I don't know, man. It's interesting. But the one thing I will say definitively is that the teams that we were going against or looking to play in the playoffs last season, the season isn't over. We're not even halfway through the season, so I'm not making any damning remarks here, but they're not as good as they were last year. The Chiefs are not as good as that Chiefs team was last year, and the 49ers aren't as good as they were last year. But long season, once again, things can change over this last half. But as of right now, even with the team being different, I do think this Eagles team might be better. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I don't think that they have played better through 8 weeks so far. I don't think they have looked better than they did last year. They looked like a machine last year, week after week, right? Like they just came in, handled business on both sides of the ball for the most part, and just went and just did their thing, right? This year they've looked a little more human. But to your point, when you go across the board star-wise, right? Like AJ Brown, as great as he was last year, is on a completely other platform than he was last year. You have a better, like, I know that they led the league in rushing and whatever. Like, you have more talent in the backfield. You have more explosiveness in the backfield when they want to put their foot down and actually run the ball, right? You get to the defensive side of things. Like Jordan, when you get to a guy like Jordan Davis, I mean, we just looked at him as a two-down player, a run stopper. I mean, the dude's getting after the quarterback. You added Jalen Carter. You go out, like you just said, and get a Kevin Byard. Yeah, I know we had Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He helped lead the league in interceptions with being hurt. So, it's kind of, maybe a cancel out there. But just in terms of pure safety, you would hope that Kevin Byard is better at safety than Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was, right? Yeah. So they have not been better than they were last year, but I think they can be better than they were last year. And to his point, the only way you can really say that they're better than last year is if they finish the job, right? So I do agree with them.
And I'll take it a step further. I think the turmoil early on in this season, right? Being in games with teams that aren't as talented as you and you having to fight those teams and battle it out with them. I think that type of, path might be a little bit better for this team going forward, like than what they went through last year. And mind you, these guys, they went to the Super Bowl last year. They ran through the NFC. It's like, I know what I'm saying here. It sounds kind of crazy, but just to have to go through some adversity throughout this season, I think is going to make us a more well-rounded and a more experienced and more prepared team.
Let me ask you, I think one of the reasons that they have not looked quite like that machine this year is because Jalen himself has not looked like Jalen last year. Just obviously he was fantastic yesterday, but consistently week to week through 8 weeks, Jalen has not looked, like an MVP like he did last year.
Yeah.
Is that knee a concern for you, dude? There is something going on. I don't know what the injury is. I don't know how serious it is. I don't know how much it's, hindering him considering what he did yesterday, but there is a noticeable kind of limp. There's a noticeable,
I didn't see it myself in the broadcast before the game started, but I did hear that Jay Glazer said that it's a bone bruise on his knee.
Okay.
And that it's basically like a pain tolerance thing. Okay. He should be able to heal from it through like the next couple weeks and be able to play through it as long as he can handle the pain, right? Like, and that's what we're seeing in the game right now. And I do like to hear that versus like a ligament strain or or a partial tear or something. Right. So like from that standpoint, and Jay Glazer, pretty reputable, I would say. But once again, take it with a grain of salt. I did not see that come out of his mouth with my own eyes. It's just what I heard from different people that Jay Glazer did report that. So hopefully it's all right. You do got the bye week coming up. It sucks that you play Dallas right before the bye week, or if it was like roles reversed and we played Dallas yesterday and played the Commanders maybe next week, I would maybe even say sit him out for a game. That way you get the full 2 weeks with the bye. But Dallas, you know how important that game is for the division, for the conference. You cannot sit him out. If he can go, he's got to go. So am I worried? I don't know, man, because Hurts is just such a laid-back dude. He's so calm about it. He's not worried about it. So it makes me feel like I shouldn't worry about it if he's not. But I also know in the past the Eagles have been very shady with injuries and injury reporting and different things and keeping things under wraps. He is a $255 million guy. But on the other side of that, he's a $255 million guy. Do you really go out and risk him each and every week against these teams? So I don't know. I'm going to trust him. I'm going to trust the Eagles. I'm going to trust Jalen Hurts and that he's playing through something that he is able to play through. And that it's not going to make it worse. That's the other part of that report that I was mentioning from Jay Glazer. Him playing on it through the pain isn't going to make the bone bruise worse unless, of course, he gets hit in that knee directly. So,
I mean, I'm just looking at the fact of they're playing that Cowboys front this week. And if you take away or limit that explosiveness, that dual threat that Jalen is, that ability to run and scramble for first downs, that ability to run and extend plays outside of the pocket and everything, that definitely hurts this Eagles offense. So I'm just looking at it from that point. Like when it comes to these big time moments, these big time games, these better pass rushes, how does that knee hold up? And now, like I said, you couldn't tell yesterday in terms of what he was able to produce, but
moments
visibly, I could notice there was something,
a little bit of a something there. Yeah, definitely. That one, it was the drive towards the end of the game. Gets hit, makes the throw, has to go down the field. I think it was a throw to Smitty. Has to get down the field very quickly. You could very easily see him.
Smitty didn't catch it again.
Yeah, it happened again. But no, man, I do feel you though. I think with Jalen Hurts and looking ahead to Dallas, obviously don't want to get into it too much on this show, given that we're coming off a win. But if they don't go out and run the football and make a concerted effort to run the football against Dallas next week,
I'm going to start to get very
frustrated. That's a problem. That's a problem. Like Washington, fine. You threw for almost 400 yards the first time against them. A.J. Brown had a hell of a day the first time against them. So you come out, you want to implement that game plan again. I'm fine with that, with given the results, given 38 points with 2 red zone turnovers, right? I'm fine with it. But you come out next week, we know what the Dallas defense's weakness is, right? It's run defense. They're going to play a lot better coverage than what the Commanders played this weekend. I can assure you that. So to that point, am I like infuriated about the way this game played out? No. About how the play calling played out? No. Because they dropped close to 40 points. But I think it's just one of those things where there is meat left on the bone once again. And I think to Brett's point, that is scary. Like that there's meat left on the bone and we scored 38 points. But I think the key, man, when we reverse back to the defense a little bit here, I know Brett mentioned a linebacker. Is that what you're kind of seeing there? Is that what you think would be the missing piece? Linebacker, slot corner.
Obviously, slot corner definitely comes to mind when you look at, if you want. I saw Sidney Brown was lining up in slot, in pregame warmups. Eli Ricks is getting action there. It wasn't visibly, it wasn't horrible yesterday. That's not the weakness that I noticed yesterday, but it could definitely be a problem against other quarterbacks and other contenders, right? So you would think that they could upgrade there, but from what I've read, that Howie, when he is calling around right now, he is gauging, about linebackers. And
Jordan Hicks makes a ton of sense.
And when I watched yesterday, man, like Nakobe Dean doesn't look anything special. And I know it's very early on in his career, but he does not look like anything close to what I was hoping for. But
he looks serviceable. He does not look special.
No, he can't cover, not a lick. It's not like he's ultra dominant in the run stopping department. He's small. He's not fat. There's not anything that Nakobe Dean does great on the football field right now.
Yeah.
Zach Cunningham was getting beaten coverage. Now he's been good. Like him and Morrow have been good to serviceable throughout the course of the season so far. But when you get down to the Buffalo Bills and the 49ers and the Cowboys,
he's not lying though, man. It's weird.
It's not off.
I don't know if he put on like like if he's just doped up on muscle or something, but he definitely looks like bigger. He doesn't look like he's small, but like still bigger. Like if that makes sense. Yeah, I feel you, Marshawn Lynch. Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. Looking at yesterday is like just having somebody in that linebacking core that not like they don't have to be the best linebacker in the world, but just make a difference in the game. If that makes sense, make a play. And that's what I think
I think they just need a true like LB1. Like I think they need a guy, and then Morrow and Cunningham look good around them, right? Like I don't think you have that right now. I think you have 3 guys fighting for playing time that are all just average. And like I said, in a game like yesterday where they're getting exploited on tight end matchups or running back matchups, it can get ugly, right? And I think that's something that Washington did both times.
When you play the Giants, what the hell? When you play the Chiefs, I don't know why I was about to say the Giants. When you play the Chiefs, that's my worry, right? Because the Chiefs, you look across the conference, right? That's the team that is in line to play you again. And so I'm always thinking about how are we going to beat the Chiefs? How are we going to match up against the Chiefs? How can we get the best matchups against the Chiefs? And the first thing that comes to mind is Travis Kelce, man. Who is sticking Travis Kelce?
Now, Kevin Byard, potential.
You gotta hope that Kevin Byard can, after he gets acclimated, maybe even through the bye, he can be that guy.
Great yesterday, but again, it's game 1, man.
Nobody looked great yesterday.
To be fair,
nobody looked great yesterday. I mean, James Bradbury.
Slay got beat a couple times. Bradbury got beat a couple times. Right.
Terry McLaurin, I mean, dropped a few passes where I'm just like, well, how the fuck is he wide open? Like, why? Like, so there was a couple yesterday. But Sidney Brown, before one thing, Sidney Brown popped Terry McLaurin, and that gave me
he did.
Juice to my soul, man. I needed Terry McLaurin to get popped. I like Scary Terry, but he is just always so cocky against us, man.
Chill. He's good. He's gonna be a stud, man. He's gonna be a stud. But this is another thing that I think before we wrap up and move on over to the Sixers weekend. I know we're all sitting here frustrated with the lack of pass rush against Sam Howell, and it's the reason he was able to step up in a clean pocket and, complete almost 80% of his passes, right? But when you look at this line yesterday, Jalen Carter gets hurt in the middle of the game and with a back injury, and Jordan Davis came into the game hobbled and did not play a ton. So, dude, I'm watching this, and I'm looking at the interior of our defensive line, and for multiple plays in a row, man, I'm watching Kentavious Street and Marlon Tuipulotu and Milton Williams on our defensive line. I mean, that's not B team, bro. That's E team. Like those. That a pairing of those two, Marlon Tuipulotu and Kentavious Street as your defensive tackles, just aren't going to get it done. And then when you get to Martian's point, BG obviously has just been nothing this year. Like I'm not trying to come off as disrespectful. Still love BG here. He has done nothing productive for this defensive line so far through 8 weeks. And Fletcher Cox, I thought, started the year off incredibly well. Fletcher Cox creates no sort of pass rush over the last couple of weeks. So when you take that into account, Derek Barnett is just a straight nothing, right? He's a dark
he
hole.
Almost got a 15-yard penalty.
Yes, he did, and I'm literally freaking out, telling him to just get away and move on.
Oh my God!
But so when you take that into account, you had Fletcher Cox, Josh Sweat, and somewhat of a Jordan Davis yesterday.
Yeah. Might
explain the lack of the the lack of sack production, right?
Hey, man, I would not be mad if we brought in Ndamukong Suh again. I would not. Just for some depth.
His TikToks with his wife are great.
But to your point about BG, man, I have to ask, like, can't Nolan Smith get a little bit of a nod here? Like, maybe not even over BG, maybe over Derek Barnett. Like, he can't get on the field over Derek Barnett.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel maybe it's just him not making a play when he's on the field, and I just don't even notice him out there. But like I just said, I just don't notice
Scotty, he's
Nolan
not
Smith out on the field. Like,
he's not even
don't see him.
He's not even in the box score, Scotty.
Yeah. I have the snap count somewhere. I wanted to.
If you find it, let me know what he played, because he literally did not record a stat yesterday. Not a single tackle, not nothing.
Let's see here. Yeah, because I was like surprising. Like, I was just so surprised that Kenny Gainwell only played 30% of the snaps, because it felt like he was just out there the entire game. How far back is this going to be? I don't know. I can't find it, man.
Well, if you were curious, I'll look it up on Twitter in a second. If you were curious, Brandon Graham on the entire season has 3 solo tackles and half a sack.
3 solo tackles and half a sack.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean, dude? Like.
So, okay, I got it here. So let me go down to the defensive line. So edge, Nolan Smith. So he got 4 snaps.
What did BG get?
14.
All right, so he didn't play a ton, regardless.
10 more snaps. Yeah, it was Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick most of the game, 61 and 59 snaps, and then Derek Barnett got 7 snaps. So I guess what I'm trying to say here, just take all those Derek Barnett snaps and give them to Nolan Smith. See what you have in your first round pick. We know what we have in Derek Barnett, a toxic penalty bound defensive edge here. So I just want to see what he's got, man. He's explosive. He can get to the quarterback quick. I would love to see him opposite of Hassan Reddick in times, like just see that pairing. But I do get it. He's a rookie. You want to, kind of ease him into the game, but I don't know. I can do without seeing Derek Barnett out there.
I agree. Anyway, that's going to wrap up the Eagles portion of the show. Just had to get our Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett stuff out there.
Absolutely.
Contavious Street played 22 snaps.
22.
What the hell? Obviously injuries, but what the hell? Let's talk some Sixers, man.
Yeah, man. Exciting time.
Obviously, we've already Friday morning show talked about the opener in Milwaukee, and our main takeaway was, yes, you lost, but there was a ton of positives to take away, a lot to build on that you could look forward to going on in the season. Obviously, Kelly Oubre Jr. comes off the bench and gives you over 25 on the opener. Tyrese Maxey, right? 30. What do you have night 1? 31 or 34 night 1? He had 31 and 34 in the first 2 games. So. Yeah. I believe 31 night 1, 8 assists, 0 turnovers. You could build on that. Nick Nurse's offense, his defense. There's a lot to take away. Now they play a back-to-back in Toronto and then the home opener last night against the Portland Trailblazers, and they took care of business, man. Obviously, in both games, they were trailing at one point early in the first half. They allowed both teams to make runs and attempt to come back in each game. Obviously, beat Portland almost by 30 last night. And then they took care of Toronto pretty handily down the stretch in the fourth quarter there on Saturday night. And I got to tell you, man, I'm over the moon through 3 games about what I've seen so far. What the Sixers look like are a much more competent team than I thought. And they look like a team that's not missing their starting point guard. Yeah. That's the biggest thing to me right now. Now he was on the bench last night. So that's a story in itself that we can get into. And he went through, the pregame walkthrough with the team and everything with that. Right. But you look through the first 3 games, man. And you can put Milwaukee to the side just over this weekend. Tyrese Maxey is unconscious right now. If this dude continues to shoot the ball the way he's shooting from beyond the arc, and I know he's taking a leap every year and he shot above 40% from 3 last year, this dude is unconscious. And the 2-man game between him and Joel is very Joel JJ, very Joel Seth Curry-ish. Right. Yeah. And so to see that with his point guard now and not his 2 guard is very, very cool to see. Right. Yeah. Tyrese Maxey has been unbelievable. Limited turnovers. Just it feels like 8 assists on average. Right. Yeah. Kelly Oubre Jr. obviously did not shoot the ball the best yesterday, but he came off the bench, gave you 18 against Toronto, gave you 10 yesterday. He continues to be a factor. Tobias Harris has just been Mr. Consistent through 3 games. He's averaging about 20 points per game so far on efficient shooting, right? And then it took the big fella 1 game to figure things out, and he looks right back to his MVP form, man. I mean, he was that stat sheet is unbelievable from last night. This should not be a thing, dude. 35, 15, 7 assists, 2 steals, 6 blocks in 29 minutes. That's unbelievable.
It's insane. He wasn't going to play.
So far to start the year, here's what I've seen. You have a lethal, dangerous, star-studded 1-2 punch, right? Like Joel and Maxey look like they can both come out and give you 30 apiece every night, right? It's not like one or the other. They both look like they do that and complement each other well on the floor. Both are becoming much better playmakers, right? Joel 7 assists, Maxey 8. Obviously, Joel's got to take a little bit better care of the ball over last night and game 1 against Milwaukee, but Maxey's taking care of the ball. Tobias Harris looks like that 3rd scorer again. He looks confident. He's pulling up from the top of the key, off the dribble, right? He's averaging almost 20 a game. You're getting scoring off the bench in a guy like Kelly Oubre Jr., and then the defense looks good.
Yeah.
I really almost don't have any complaints from over the weekend about what the Sixers did.
Yeah, no, I do agree, man. I think it's just more or less just excitement and observations, like not necessarily complaints. The one thing I'll say with Joel Embiid, get those 15 rebounds against Milwaukee next time.
Right.
That's the only complaint / slander that I will throw out into the universe. But no, man, incredible weekend for Embiid, incredible weekend for Maxey and company. And the one thing I saw it tweeted out yesterday, I can't remember who to give credit to for this, but it wasn't me that said it first. But Tyrese Maxey, the 2-man game with him and Embiid is going to be better than what the 2-man game with Harden and Embiid was last year. And in the regular season, that 2-man game with Harden and Embiid last year was amazing. It was probably the best 2-man game maybe in the league, right? You see Embiid win MVP, Harden leads the league in assists. But when you get to the postseason and how things change, I think that 2-man game with Maxey is going to be much, much better simply because Maxey's quicker. He's more athletic. He's able to get to the rim and he's able to finish. He's able to get to the free throw line and he's a more efficient shooter. That's what it comes down to.
Yep.
And what we're seeing Maxey kind of elevate his game. You talked about him getting better each year. I saw somebody said he's officially like a top 5 shooter in the NBA. I mean, you can say that. Like I'm seeing like revelations of like Damian Lillard playing for the Sixers right now in my mind. Like that's what it feels like when I'm watching this kid play sometimes. Like throw the Tony Parker comparison out the window. He shoots the ball 10 times better than Tony Parker ever could. So when I'm looking at Maxey, the elevation this year outside of the shooting, the scoring, the passing, man, like he's become a much, much better passer. He's much more confident. He puts the ball in spots for Joel that get him in good positions. Now, it's not Harden level passing. I'm not saying that,
No, but I thought there would be a much more difficult transition for Maxey in the pick and roll type of game.
Having the ball in his hands more, like you would think turnovers would come with that for a 22-year-old. No, he keeps a clean sheet for most of his games. I'll tell you,
within that 2-man game, the one thing that I love, man, is that he's not getting stuck halfway. He's not, like, speaking of turnovers, he's not coming off the screen. And because the initial pass ain't there, it's not like he's picking up his dribble and getting stuck at the elbow, right? If the pass ain't there, he's putting his head down, creating contact, getting to the rim, finishing with a floater. He's not getting confused or stuck in that area of the court. And that's another part of growth, right? He's almost 23, right?
Yeah.
He's maturing, like he said.
He's getting older, he said. So, yeah, man, I love what I've seen from him. The revelation of Tyrese Maxey and this team, and realizing this is what we've needed this whole time. Like, this is the guy. Like, this is the guy we've been looking for to be Joel's road dog. And to that point, man, as much as I am so interested in a world where James Harden didn't pull the stuff that he's pulled this summer, and that James Harden was with this team and like part of the team. He's on the bench last night. I don't know how it's going to work. Seems like he's cool with his teammates. Seems like he's cool with Nick Nurse, right? The beef seems to be specifically with Daryl Morey.
Yes, man.
And that's fine. But what we've had a chance to see now is Tyrese Maxey with the ball in his hands. And I don't know how you can take the ball out of his hands at this point. Like, that's how I'm looking at it. Like, I know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I just don't know how you can logically take the ball out of Tyrese Maxey's hands and put it in Harden's when you can't trust Harden.
I'll throw an idea out to you, and then I want to come back to more of this weekend and what we've seen positives. But you have to play him. If he's coming back, if he's making an attempt, the Sixers can't just deny him, and say, no, you can't come around, you can't, blah, blah, blah. Like, then the tables are reversed, we're fined, etc. Can Nick Nurse bring him off the bench? Can you limit his playing time? Bring him off the bench. Hey, he's playing, but he's not getting 38 minutes in a starting role. I don't know, because I do agree. Like, there is a part of you that does kind of understand if James Harden is James Harden, if he doesn't look like Game 6 or 7 James Harden, right?
Yeah.
That you would think, just on paper, that's a better opportunity to win and be a contender.
Yeah, it's another good player on your team.
Right. But what I'm seeing so far, I like better. This offense, I don't know. I don't know how he would run this offense. I really don't.
Because it's not just the 2-man game and Maxey with the ball. It's also the way the offense is moving.
Well, and Maxey, even though he's our starting point guard, and his assist totals are up and his turnovers are way down, it's not like Tyrese Maxey just goes and gets the inbound or the outlet off a rebound every time. DeAnthony Melton brings the ball up. Tobias Harris brings the ball up. Point center Joel Embiid brings the ball up. All 4 of the 5 guys out there outside of PJ Tucker brings the ball across half court.
Brings the ball up. Oubre brings the ball up. Like, they got options.
So I think that's part of Nick Nurse's offense, right? Where this isn't like with James Harden, where he's the orchestrator. You find him off the rebound, you get him the ball, and he gets you into your offense. Yeah. That's not what this is going to be.
Yeah.
This is going to be get James Harden the ball at half court and wind down the shot clock, etc. So again, we come back to that. I got to keep the vibes high, man, because I'm loving what I'm seeing.
Yeah,
the other thing that I'm loving what I'm seeing, you got to continue to give credit to Nick Nurse and how different this team looks on both sides of the ball. And I texted you about the offense the other night in Toronto. Joel getting the ball on the wing and Kelly Oubre just flashing at the rim, right back door, and Joel hitting him in his chest for about 4 straight possessions, it felt like, for easy buckets and dunks. That was something I haven't seen in a Doc Rivers or Brett Brown led offense, right? Probably the first time in Joel Embiid's career. The other thing that I heard Joel and the coaching staff kind of talk about, and you can see it translate on the court is finding ways to get Joel the ball before like he gets the ball, meaning all the off ball movement to open up space on the floor for him. What was it that happened last night? There's been multiple times, and here's another thing that's sticking out to me. When Joel posts up on the wing and calls for the ball, this is not last year's Sixers offense where you wait for that entry pass. He gets it back to the basket. Shot clock winding down. Here we go. Dude, I'm watching Joel Embiid when that initial entry isn't there and they swing the ball to the opposite side of the floor. I'm watching Joel Embiid flash to the middle of the zone, to the middle of the elbow and get the pass there, then get to work, then kick out to Tobias or go to work in isolation. That's all new. And this is what we've kind of been waiting for, man. Like Joel Embiid never used to flash to the elbow and create space for himself in that sense.
Yeah.
So I am ecstatic about what I've seen so far.
Yeah, and shout out to Embiid, man. It's averaging 7 assists on the season. He's passing the ball better. It's simple. He's making better passes. He's making better reads. Like Marshawn Lynch said, I do want to see it against the better teams, the more complex defensive schemes that he's going to see. The Bostons of the world, right? Going against Al Horford. Can he beat that demon? Like, those are the little things that we're looking for. But when you're talking about 3 games into the season, this is pretty exciting what we're seeing. I mean, they're putting together some pretty great performances. And the biggest thing for me with Embiid last night, you mentioned the 29 minutes. He was 12 for 22 from the field. Efficient, quick decisions. And it's what you're talking about with those entry passes into the post. Make quick decisions. We don't need to sit here and wait for this to happen. It's not happening. We can move on to our next option. And that's logical. It shouldn't be this exciting for us to see.
Right. Like these are common concepts, right? Like this is
treated for the last 3 years.
Yeah. Like these are pretty common, basketball concepts.
Father let me out of the
NBA level here. Like surprised as hell that we're able to do this. But it really is kind of like a breath of fresh air.
And, to Marshawn Lynch's point with Bev and D-Mount in this second unit, like, obviously, I thought your Harden point was good money. Like, if he doesn't like coming off the bench, guess what? You can go home. Like, you don't have to be on the bench. So, like, it's a win-win for the Sixers by doing that. And to Marshawn Lynch's point, do you get to the point now where the team is good enough if, say, Harden does decide to go home and sit out? I don't think he's going to, but if that were to happen, are we content with now just waiting until Daryl Morey gets the offer that he wants? Right. Or does it make you think that you just trade Harden for whatever you can get and just get another role player in there to make the team better?
That's where you're kind of stuck, right? Because at the end of the day, if he waits till deadline or close to deadline and we end up coming away with a deal that we could have got done in August, we're all going to sit here and be like, what the hell? Because he settles for less. Yeah. But at the same time, from what you're seeing from this roster,
they can survive without him.
Would you just take another role player or two that can score off the bench for this team, right? That can help defensively for this team. Those are questions as well. But, again, if Chicago continues to be an issue and arguing in the locker room after each and every loss, if Zach LaVine does become available somehow, man, if DeMar DeRozan became available as that 2 guard, I mean, my God, talk about dudes that could fit this offense and not need the ball in their hands and everything. Yeah. So it is definitely a tough balance.
Buddy Hield. I'm with you, man. It feels like Buddy Hield's been destined to be a Sixer for like eternity, but Malcolm Brogdon is another guy, but Zach LaVine is the goal, right? Like that's
right. Malcolm Brogdon would be a great piece, but Portland's not trading for teams in this situation that they're in right now.
Who was it that just put
Harden.
the comment earlier about Paul Reed? By the way, Paul Reed.
I believe that was Mark. That might.
I think it was Martian Lynch.
Yeah, it was, and yeah, I do agree, and I didn't want to come on here and like trash him, and shout out to RB, obviously coming out. Dope. He's doing a podcast with Paul Reed twice a month or once a month or something, starting shortly, which is incredibly cool. And awesome. I'm hyped to listen and hear, Paul, and hear what's going on with the Sixers team a little more in depthly. But he ain't it, man. Like I'm sorry. I'm not saying there's not a role for Paul Reed on this team. But Scotty, I don't know how many times I have to tell you he's not a backup 5.
Yeah.
They are too small on the floor with Paul Reed as their backup 5. And I know he did an okay job of it in the postseason last year. And if he could do it in the postseason versus Boston, why can't they're too small, man. They get killed on the offensive glass with him out there. He still does not know how to use and control his fouls and his body. And again, by the way, I begged him after night 1 to never do it again. And what does he do last night, Scotty? He pulls from the wing and just pulls up off the dribble.
Things last night.
Oh my God. And I don't know if this is a team philosophy thing and Nick Nurse thing. Not every player needs or deserves the green light, bud. Yeah. Paul Reed gets no more green light from the 3-point line.
One thing if it's in the corner, like we talked about.
Oh my God! But it's not even. Scotty. It's not even a 3-point shooting, dude. Yeah. He is a brick inside the paint. He tried to jump. He tried to jump hook and airballed and missed the front of the rim. He tried to pull up over a defender and like hit glass inside of the rim.
It's crazy you say that about the fouls too, man. Because you look at the first 2 games of the season against Milwaukee and Toronto. He played 12 and 13 minutes and got 4 fouls in each of those games. Like how do you how? Like,
and you know what makes me laugh? And I know a lot of players do it, but he looks completely just mind fucked that he gets a foul call every time. He just looks really like, how? What do you mean, how, bro?
He's a character,
smacking the shit out of people. And shout out, I know someone commented, it might be Brett, about Jaden Springer's bunnies earlier. The kid can play some defense and the kid can get up. Jaden Springer had about 3 fouls in 2 minutes yesterday.
Yeah, like you got to get that under
whatever it is with these young dudes. I mean,
yeah, you're not going to get playing time like that, man. You can't be racking up the fouls that quickly. But no, I'm with you. Yeah, Paul Reed. Contract, we need a little bit better than that, right? Like a quality role player for that type of contract, I feel.
Well, it also just begs the question, like, why can't he play more backup 4?
Yeah.
And like, you bring in Mo Bamba, and I'm not saying Mo Bamba is the answer to our questions, but how does he just not see the floor through the first 3 nights?
Yeah.
He's a 7-foot rim protector that can probably score better than Paul Reed can.
I would believe that, yeah, for sure. Can score better than Paul Reed.
So, like, I'm just confused, like, how he just doesn't get a look.
If Paul Reed doesn't figure it out, I think that they will explore that option sooner rather than later. But
I mean, dude, he played 1 minute last night in the blowout. Like, even Petrusev got more playing time than Mo Bamba did.
Yeah, that's crazy. Maybe Nick Nurse doesn't like him. I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe it just doesn't fit Nick Nurse's like way he likes to play. But I don't know. I feel like you look at Chris Boucher. I feel like Mo Bamba could be that type of player.
There's no way he's a worse scorer than Paul
Reed, man. I feel like I don't know. I don't feel like Mo is a worse scorer, but Paul Reed.
I gotta look up his career, man. I mean, he's not that it's great by any stretch of the imagination, but he's a career 7.5 points per game in 18 minutes on over 47.5% shooting. And he shoots 36% from 3.
Shoots the 3 ball well.
There's no way he's a better scorer than Paul Reed.
Yeah, in my mind, he's a better scorer, but maybe they were like the same.
Right, well, if he's the Rashad Penny of this team, then Paul Reed is the Kenneth Gainwell of this team. Because I'm tired of it. All right. 3 games in, I'm tired of it.
It kind of is a good comparison when you talk about, how the Philly fan base just tends to overrate certain players. They kind of fit that mold. So yeah. D'Anthony Melton, man, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, that is an interesting topic so far. Now, I did think yesterday was probably his best
better
game.
though. I think he can get better. I think he's just
1,000%. I think yesterday was probably his best game. What were his numbers? Let's see. He had 12 points. He was a plus 27. He had 8 assists.
2 steals.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think D'Anthony Melton, or at least the idea of D'Anthony Melton's role on this team, is much more complimentary off the bench.
Yeah.
Like, that's why, like, a James Harden, whether it's coming, but like, again, I know we have all our issues with that and taking the ball out of Maxey's hands, or finding another number 2 that can start as a role piece next to Maxey. Yeah. And bringing D-Melt off the bench, I think, is key. Like, I don't know. I don't know how he fits in the starting 5. He's had, poor shooting nights to start the year. He's had, I think, if not last night, the first 2 games, he's had some turnover issues. Yeah, he had one last night, but I believe the first 2 games he struggled turning the ball over.
This is interesting. They did give up a first-round pick and
but I will say, I don't care about late first-round picks in the NBA. Don't. I know that Maxey went 21. Like, I know that sounds silly of me.
Extremely lucky with that though.
Yeah, like, that's. I mean, I get it was a first-round pick, but I love when people like get in an uproar over like second-round picks. It's like, I love when the Sixers came up at 2025 and a 2026 second-round pick.
Oh my God! Marinate on our G League.
What are we doing
for 3 years?
Yeah. Yeah,
it is funny, man. But yeah, I think D-Melt can be better, just a little bit more consistent for me.
Well, I will say this: he needs to be better. Okay, like,
he has to.
We are playing great ball.
Much worse is the way I would put it.
Yeah. All right. Let me.
I wanted to say something about Oubre because you mentioned his shooting struggles, and it's true. He's 0 for 10 from the 3-point line in his last 2 games.
Yeah.
So we've met that part of Oubre, but still giving you the consistency in other areas. Yeah. So defense, playmaking,
even
scoring.
with getting that version of Kelly, right? Maybe a little trigger happy and it not falling, right? Like you said, he's 0 for 10. I think he was 3 for 10 from the floor last night, but he's still finding ways to contribute scoring wise. Like, he gave you double digits off the bench last night in a very, very poor shooting
effort. That's what we need from a bench player. Like, we need that.
It didn't hinder you, right? Like, the 3 for 10 wasn't an X factor in why this game was close or they lost or whatever the case may be. Like, he still found a way to give you double digits off the bench, and the poor shooting night didn't hurt you. He has been much better defensively than I could have ever imagined. He gets his hands in passing lanes. He's plucked a couple guys. He's active on the glass as well. I've loved everything I've seen so far from Kelly Oubre Jr. I don't care that he had a poor shooting night last night.
You know what Kelly Oubre Jr. is? He's what McDaniels was supposed to be last year.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing right now is what we wanted from
just
McDaniels.
With much more upside offensively.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that Jaden McDaniels was ever going to be 20 point per game
20-point scorer. Yeah.
Because
they were on the same team and Oubre was starting. You know what I mean? He was Oubre's backup. So it's like, but they are like kind of similar in like the lengthiness and the athleticism, but
speaking of Kelly Oubre Jr., man, obviously getting all these minutes the first 3 nights.
Yeah.
What do you think about how Nick Nurse is handling the PJ Tucker situation? And do you think that's because of age and just getting him, through the season and ready for the playoffs? Because PJ has really like not played more than 20 minutes per game so far. He obviously starts with the team, but then once Kelly comes in, Kelly's played 25, like 28, 30 minutes the first 3 games.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's a way to keep PJ Tucker involved. It keeps him in the starting lineup and keep that kind of chemistry going with the starting 5. But down the stretch of a game, when you need a basket like you needed against Milwaukee, when you needed athleticism and size, you went to another option, which again, something you probably weren't like. There's no way Kelly Oubre Jr. is playing this much under Doc Rivers. And PJ Tucker is probably playing 35 minutes per night the first 3 games.
Kelly Oubre, no lie, might not have got any PT with Doc Rivers. And that's the crazy part, man. It's the sad part. But to your point about PJ Tucker, I think, that's the right way to go, man. You think about it, just save PJ for those big games, right? Milwaukee, let him play 25-plus minutes against Milwaukee and, go pound for pound with Giannis and get beat up and stuff. Save his legs for those games, right, where you can use him as a defender.
Yeah. One more is DG cooked? Because he got like the first nod off the bench in Milwaukee. Like he was one of the first 2 players off the bench against the Bucks in the opener. And my man
didn't play last night.
Yeah, he didn't really play against Toronto either, I don't believe.
Yeah, 5 minutes against Toronto.
Yeah. So I think Nick Nurse, it's very early. I don't know. And he's trying new rotations, new matchups, but I think Nick Nurse very quickly realized Danny Green
he's like not with
isn't as spry as we might have been hoping.
Yeah, I think you like Danny Green on your bench. I think you like his leadership, his experience, right? And maybe every once in a while he'll hit like a big 3 for you or something to change momentum. But he doesn't need to be seeing the court over some of these other guys, right? Like we've seen what these other guys can do so far. I think Daniel House, I don't know about him. Seen him here and there. It's been interesting seeing.
I think he's played a little too much in the last year. Obviously, he didn't play in the opener. I don't think.
So maybe he's getting the nod over Danny Green right now.
1,000%. And when I say a little too much, like it's not like Daniel House is playing crazy minutes. Like he only played 10 minutes last night. Probably played around the same or a little less the night before. So it's not a lot. I just feel like with the way that Nick does his rotations, and obviously Joel plays like all of the first and all the third, and then the final 6 minutes of whatever, it's like those 10 minutes feel like you're getting them all at once with Daniel House. Like it feels like you're getting a lot of Daniel House at once.
Second and third quarter, you're getting a ton of Daniel House in bench units. I do feel you, and it does seem like they've kind of went more towards House than Danny Green in the last 2 games. I don't know. I guess, when you look at the stat sheet, and this is just box score watching at that point, but he puts a little bit more in the stat sheet than Danny Green. Danny Green gives you nothing. Daniel House gives you 2 rebounds.
Well, and he's also younger, faster, more athletic.
Yeah.
Can finish in transition. He's going to do everything that Danny Green can do better, except maybe shoot 3-point ball. But at this point of their careers, Daniel House might shoot it around the same clip as Danny Green. So, last guy, man, Pat Bev, 20 minutes last night, 2 of 3 shooting, +8, very effective. I think what I've seen through 3 games is almost exactly what I've expected from Patrick Beverley, and I'm super excited to say that because I mean that in a positive way. I think that Patrick Beverley has come off the bench. You haven't seen him through 3 games. You haven't seen him try to do too much with the ball. It's not like Pat Bev's getting to the lane and chucking floaters. He was 2 for 3 last night, right? He knows his role extremely well. He's not coming out, being ultra aggressive, picking up dumb fouls, getting teed up through early on in the year. None of that's happening. He sets up this offense okay. Like I do agree with Marshawn Lynch's point. Like he's not the greatest number 1 option as a facilitator off the bench.
Yeah, but he's not a playmaker. Right. He's going to be in the right spot. He's going to get you in the right spot.
Yeah.
Get the ball.
And he's been everything that I've thought defensively. He's been pesky.
Yeah.
He's been hands in the cookie jar. He's been
plucked last night. Blocked him on a jump shot.
Yeah. Like he's been Pat Bev has been everything I was expecting and in a positive way so far for this team.
Yeah, I think what I would say about Pat Bev, definitely no complaints so far.
No.
But like what I've seen, just the little things, right? He feels a lot of the little stuff. And I think where you'll see Pat Bev and maybe he'll stick out a little bit more is in those bigger matchups against the Celtics, against the Bucks, where he can try to get in other players' heads on the other team and be that veteran presence, that pesky that pesky, can't think of the animal name off the top of my head. I'm spacing out on Victory Monday, man. It's been over an hour we've been on here. But pesky, I don't know what you want to call it. He's just pesky. So I think you'll see his impact a little bit more against the better and more competitive games. So
I agree.
I like what I've seen, man. Let me ask you this before we get out of here.
Yeah.
What would you like to see going forward from this Sixers team? To play again on Thursday, play the Raptors. Might see James Harden for the first time.
I would like to continue to see what I witnessed last night between Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. And what I mean by that is both guys are giving you, 25 and 35, 31 and 34 together. However, last night, they played off of each other so well when it was the other person's turn, meaning the other person was heating up. Maxey drills too. Like Joel got the ball to Tyrese in the two-man game. He said, no, he was calling it out. Like Tyrese went to the corner off the handoff, and Joel said, back, cut. Cut, drops it all to him. Tyrese buries a deep three. When it's Joel's turn, they get to the pick and roll. Maxey knows, I'm getting the ball to the big fella. I think they've been complimenting each other so well on the floor. They're kind of deferring in the right moments, right? And I think that's what I want to continue to see more. Like what I don't want to see is, and yes, it's still Joel Embiid's team. He's the scoring champ. He's the MVP. You get him the ball first and foremost. But what I don't want to see is, okay, Joel's getting the ball. Joel's getting the majority of the looks and the shots in the starting five. But then when he's on the bench is when Maxey starts to cook. I'm not saying that's a bad thing to have the option when your MVP's on the bench to have that score. But I want to be able to see like Maxey and Embiid both be themselves, those natural scorers together on the floor. Because that to me is the closest thing you're going to get to championship basketball. You're not going to get it one off, one on. And you're not going to make a deep playoff run that way. Those two together, like Giannis and Dame, right? They're both going to score with each other on the floor. It doesn't have to be give or take. One's on the bench, what the other gets
Dame,
going.
I don't know, man.
Dame
I'm
was
kidding,
what?
man. I know.
But
I know that's
one for what? 1 for 10 last night at one point. I don't know what he finished at.
Crazy,
They got their ass kicked last night
by the Hawks.
Yeah, I agree.
But I love that. I love what you used the term compliment, and I think that's the perfect thing. They need to compliment each other while they're on the court. It shouldn't be one of those, taking turns off the court. It should be on the court. And the willingness, right? The unselfishness to get the guy the ball when he's hot. And that's what I loved of what I was seeing from Joel last night.
Well, and that's the thing, right? And it's going to be a learning curve for both guys, because if you're Joel and the team has been catered to you, the offense has been catered to you, you're the MVP, you're all of this. It's got to be difficult to defer to the younger kid. Like it's got to be. It's a learning curve. And to trust him.
To even trust him,
But
he's 22 years old.
And I think you saw that the first game and a half. Because you and I were texting the first half against Toronto. You were getting more of it. Like Maxey's on fire, and Joel felt the need to bring the ball up across half court, pull up to the elbow, and put up a brick. He did it in Milwaukee in the fourth quarter. I think the first game and a half, you saw non-complimentary basketball. Maxey was scoring, but like even Milwaukee, right? Maxey didn't get going till Joel was on the bench in the second quarter. Since halftime of Toronto through yesterday, through the end of last night, you saw them do it together at the same time, playing off of each other on the floor. And that's the sole thing I want to continue to see more so than anything. There's a bunch of others. I want to see Tobias Harris continue to be confident, continue to let it fly. And if he continues to score this efficiently, I mean, I game 2 against Toronto, he only had 15. But, I mean, if that's basically his floor, like if Tobias Harris is an 18 to 22 point per game scorer this year as the third option, that's confident. All you need.
I completely agree, man. And I think for me, man, like you said, want Maxey and Embiid to continue complimenting each other. Want Maxey to continue to facilitate and orchestrate this offense, get guys in place, and just know when to defer as well, right? Like you said. And I think, looking at Maxey, just to give him a little bit more credit, because he's been hitting some crazy combo moves into like fadeaway mid-range jump shots.
That one he hit last night, bro,
his bag.
At the end of the shot clock, like he was going horizontal with the bucket, pulled, and then like just turned, raised up, and nothing but nylon, bro. Like at the end of the shot clock.
Shots like that.
Yeah.
We got something serious here, and that's the other improvement I would mention for Maxey, just the ability to shoot off the dribble now.
You know what I love about him, dude? There's such a calmness to his game, and even at 22 years old, just basically getting the keys of the offense this year, right, so far, you trust him. Like, you know how we said Joel's got to trust him? I sit back comfortably, whether we're down by 6 early, whether we're, just holding on to a lead late. I trust whatever Tyrese Maxey's doing offensively right now. I trust that the shot's going to go in. That's how good he is. Like, and here's the thing. It's Damian Lillard. Like I know we go back and forth all the time on would you include Maxey in that deal? And then you see what Dame did to us night one, and it's like, well, there's a superstar. Maxey's ceiling is getting close to that. Like Maxey could score 40, right? Like Maxey can do that to you offensively now. The one thing that I'm starting to trust is that his floor is so much higher than Harden's, like I don't think that Tyrese Maxey will give you a night like Damian Lillard gave Milwaukee
2 for 12. Yeah.
Now I could be way off, and I'm not saying he won't have a poor shooting night or whatever. Yeah. I just can't see him going 2 for 12, dude.
Yeah. I feel you, man. Every single shot he takes, it feels like it's going in. Like that's just how much confidence I have in this kid. And to your point, I think we just gotta trust it and see how it plays out, man. But last thing I would say that I'm looking forward to, obviously, this is 3 games into Nick Nurse's system. Yeah. So we're going to continue to see more improvements. There's going to be some headaches mixed in there as well, I'm sure. But I expect this team to get even better and just keep on building on top of these performances and learning when Kelly Oubre is going to cut and knowing he's going to be there, right? Like Embiid, just building that chemistry, knowing when Tyrese is going to fake into the fake the baseline and then go out to the corner for a 3, just like we saw last night. There's going to be so many intricate like playoffs of those plays, right? Like you can do different things in those moments and make different decisions. And this offense, man, it's just it feels so relieving to have an offense that works and moves like this, involves everyone on the roster. And the one thing I'll say, Dylan, I'll throw it back to you. I just want them to continue playing that way. I know you're going to have to put Harden in the game. Please just don't lose that idea, right? No,
that
idea of offense.
I think that's a great point, because the second, like, let's just say you end up starting him, which I think, like, I don't know what Nick Nurse will do. He seems like no nonsense, right? So maybe he would bring him off the bench.
You could bring him off the bench and ramp him up. You know what I mean?
Or maybe he just starts him, right? And maybe James comes out and fits right into this. Maybe whatever, but. The beautiful thing is, if he is dribbling the shot clock down, take him out.
Yeah.
And if I'm Daryl Morey, I know you kind of want Daryl Morey to stay out of things. I'm telling Nick Nurse, like, this is your team. You do what you see fit. And if he's not playing to your style of offense, you sit him down.
Yeah.
It's that simple to me.
Can't be afraid to do that.
The last kind of funny thing I wanted to say to you was you mentioned how you want to continue to see them get better, and it's only 3 games, and the chemistry there with this offense, right? Here's how little they know each other so far is we got our first taste of the DX suck it chop last night, right? And Kelly Oubre Jr. was mind fucked. Like, Tobias literally had to grab him, and, like, they laughed together. Like, Kelly, he did it, and Kelly was like, and Tobias, like, he was shocked, dude.
Bro, I think I feel Kelly Oubre because I think in your mind you're like, how is this dude not getting a fucking technical foul for this?
I know.
Like,
I don't know.
Out in the stands and shit.
From what I've seen be called technicals in this league, I love that it's not. I want him to continue to do it. Yeah. But like, it is crazy. Like, because essentially, like, I know he's not like standing over the dude doing it. But you're basically like. We all know what the chop means, right? So
Embiid is hilarious. Hilarious.
Awesome. But like Kelly Oubre Jr., new to this team, literally like could not believe his eyes. And Tobias basically told him, like, yeah, this is what he does. And they just started laughing together. And Kelly, like, Embiid went straight to the line and Kelly walked by him and just like gave him a smirk. But that's my point. That's how little these dudes know each other.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're already playing that way together on the floor is great to see. And they're only going to improve, man.
Yeah, I love it. I love the communication, the chemistry amongst the team so far, and it's only going to get better, like you said. Yep. Guys like Pat Bev feeling the comfortability, right, and the confidence to ask Embiid to stay over and do some extra conditioning after practice, right? Like, these are the little things that can make a difference, and you just got to hope, man. I know we're not jumping guns around here with the Sixers. We can't because we just got to see them in the postseason, but you just hope that Nick Nurse can create something different here, man.
Yeah.
Something different with the culture.
It feels like that to start, man. It really does. I love I have loved what I've seen so far on both ends of the floor.
Likewise.
They get a couple nights off. I believe they get 2 tonight.
Play on Thursday.
They get 3 nights off. So hey, so much needed rest after playing 3 games in 4 nights. So that'll be big for the Sixers, and they get the Raptors at home. Hopefully can improve to 3-1 on the year. We'll be back Wednesday morning breaking down whatever the hell we want to get into, man. We got Eagles, we got Sixers.
Create some fun topics.
We'll get back into it on Wednesday morning. But guys, don't forget, if you are new to the channel, if you want to help support, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Turn on notifications for whenever we post a video or go live here on the YouTube channel. It's the best spot that you guys can see to get your thoughts, comments, and questions. Pull it up on the screen and be interactive with us each and every show. For myself, for Scotty, for DSM, have a great rest of your Monday.
Peace.